All right. I don't even know I mean, what I'm going to talk about is my films. Because that's what I've been deeply immersed in. The weather's been chilly. It's been kind of 30 degrees and below. I mean, today it was warmer, so today I went and uploaded some new pieces. You can look for those premieres in the next couple weeks. Premiering on my birthday, I've got the kind of long centerpiece of the whole thing, which is is it 3.5 hours or it's just 3 hours? It's a 3 hour panorama spanning October, November, and December of kind of the Slooge era, 2015. And did I talk about it last time? I don't know. But I've been looking for these clips for a long time. And it's got a lot of performances. Maybe I should talk about that. Did I ever do a Slooge? Well, that's what these pieces are anyway. So I'll get into that. I mean, that was where my show kind of went up. As far as, like, it was easy to kind of, like, organize things and file things into episodes before that, and that's where my life just became overwhelmingly, because that's when I met Olivia, and that's where the whole Slooge thing just kind of went off. It hit the rocks. At least, I don't know, I mean, there was a lot of things that happened. That's what's kind of so astonishing about watching this footage and kind of revisiting the timeline, because all through 2015 there was a sense that we were, heading upwards. And that finally we were on our way. I mean, I was 30 years old in 2015. So even at that point, I was sort of like beyond the point. I should have been a success, at least in my head, 10 years before or something. And it finally felt like it was happening. My show was sort of starting to take off. People seemed to like it. Around the house who I showed it to, I was putting it on TV, and the Slooge thing was really coming to life, which, like, that really gave a lot of people creative life in a new way. I think because we were doing it ourselves, it was our space. The space was kind of like wrapped up in the culture, and it was friends, and it was a peer group as well. Not that is that important, but it didn't come together in any kind of dumbass, like, professional. Like, we didn't have auditions. It wasn't like, oh, we did a play together and all of a sudden we're buds and shit. It was disparate groups of people, but that period of the story is sort of well documented already. I mean, when I was doing it at the time, it felt like I had just exhaustively told the story of the Slooge and the house and things through all those episodes that I was making from March, the kind of performance party episode. But the Slooge stuff even really goes back to those Vera and Linus episodes I put in, because those people would very much become, a majority, or at least a lot of what you would think of as the Slooge or whatever, the people in the Vera and Linus play, the actors, but also the Kapuka Theater, married to the people that lived in the house, married to the people that I knew, that I brought in. That was kind of, and then people came in through the parties. Like Jabril, he found us on Nonsense New York. And I think there was an original vision and aesthetic going on there. And it's interesting how everything just got sort of pulled sideways in 2016. This is before that. This was during This was before they did the renovation on the kitchen. So to me, this was one of the warmest times. It was fraught with emotion. I don't know necessarily that the footage communicates that exactly. At least not the way that I was feeling it. I mean, every second of this, I was probably feeling some kind of intense, lovesick kind of thing. Because this was literally right after I met, and I wouldn't really say that was what was responsible. Although, it's amazing how it's just like when it's not that much time looking back. Things March or let's say December 2015 and December 2016 looked much different in a lot of ways. Very different feelings, very different. And you can't always tell what the story is. Obviously, you can't tell what the story is as you're making it. But at the same time, like, I have to make something. And that was the beginning of when I was doing it. So I literally have no footage to go back to. Now I found a lot of things that I never put on. That now I'm like, okay, I can tell this story with a little bit of remove. But my policy, more or less, with all this stuff, and I've made a video. Okay, so that's just one. Then there's Christmas 2015, which is right after that. I feel like I talked about all this stuff already. That's why I'm like a little bit hesitant, because I did talk about a lot of this in the last video. In the last video, I feel like I was laying out what I was going to do. That was 11 days ago. Maybe I should talk about pop culture shit. Louis Anderson died. He did Life with Louis, which I loved. I mean, he's great. He's great in everything. The thing that kind of impressed me about with Louis Anderson's death, it's been a little bit different than I would say almost any other celebrity death I've ever experienced. This because the tributes are not hyperbolic. It's not about, oh, great, genius, giant, but you can tell that he really all the tributes drew something very specific out of people, and they're all very sincere. And I mean that not sincere as sort of a tone or a genre. I mean sincere like they're actually sincere. And it's interesting because I feel like his performance on this Baskets show, I haven't seen it, but I've seen the clips. And it's remarkable. Because, I mean, for obvious reasons, he's playing a woman and he's playing it straight. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't do a voice. When comedians, I mean, look at when Monty Python plays women, or even Kids in the Hall or something. They do these, oh, Beth, why? They do these voices kind of like that. Louis Anderson is really just himself in this. But there's just kind of he's so still. And he's so, present and deadpan, but not deadpan as an effect. Deadpan is just he's so just there, and he's so aware. It's really profound, that performance, because in a certain sense, I suppose it does feel like acting, or it does feel like that he's being crafting it. But at the same time, it feels so grounded, and it feels like there's such a stillness to it. He's not trying to push for anything, or which for a comedian is very impressive. I mean, I guess with his stand-up, that's how he gets some of his effect, is there's kind of a deadpan-ness to it. As a kid, Life with Louie was sort of part of a block with Bobby's World. Bobby's World was Howie Mandel's cartoon, and then Life with Louie was Louie Anderson. They were both, stand-ups in the 80s, whatever, who had kids shows, animated. And Life with Louie is phenomenal. The voices, the voices are incredible. I love that show, man. I thought it was great. Bobby's World was great too, but I don't know. Life with Louie was a little bit more, I don't know, relatable. He's from Wisconsin and shit, so it was kind of Midwestern and stuff. It dealt with a lot of that kind of things that maybe John Candy or The Great Outdoors. I think they go to camp and shit like that. There's a lot of that kind of feel to it. And then, of course, he's great in Coming to America, obviously. I just saw an interesting TikTok, speaking of which. I mean, TikTok is there's always a third thing. It's always like, it's the phantom harmony. They have something that you're interested in, something else and you're interested, but then there's like this laser concision where they literally know something about you that, like, you don't even know about yourself, or something that you've been thinking about. It's like, here's the TikTok video that's like, we know exactly what you've been thinking about. Like, it showed me this video earlier about living in a van in Venice Beach. Because I'm worried about what I'm going to do and, next phase. I have no clue. I mean, I'm going to sort of ride it out through the Omicron thing, definitely at least for the next few months before I really panic and really try and figure out some kind of serious money thing. But I want to enjoy my time here, like, this is my one time to really, like, soak it in. So I'll get a little bit of income here and there, but I'm not going to really bust my ass necessarily for a few months. But anyway, so it showed me this, TikTok showed me this video about Louie Anderson talking about Eddie Murphy. He went out to eat or something with Eddie Murphy, and Eddie Murphy had his entourage and things, and this was before Coming to America, and before Louie Anderson was in it or anything. I don't know what the context was. It just kind of dropped me in at this point. And Louie Anderson said, he's from the Midwest, so he said he likes paying the check. He likes picking up the check. So he was with Eddie Murphy or something, and he thought, nobody probably ever does this for Eddie Murphy. He's, like, rich. He's got an entourage and shit. Nobody probably ever picks up the check for him. He's probably always paying for everything. And so Louie Anderson went to the fucking waiter or whatever and was like, put it on my card. Don't even tell him about it. Just do it. Just put it on my card. And he said Eddie Murphy came to him and was like, you're the only person that ever did that for me. Thank you. And he said that's how he got the part in Coming to America. Like, because of that generosity, I've been thinking about karma a lot recently. And just like we're in such a fear base and such a scarcity mindset that now, especially more than ever, I know for me it feels like I can't really give anything away. I feel like I have to, like, literally just, like, hold on to every single freaking resource that I happen to get because I don't know where my next anything is going to come from. So how can I share? The idea of sharing just feels impossible. Well, to go back to this idea of, like, picking up the check, right? Has anybody our age ever been able to pick up the check for anything? We don't do that. Nobody split the checks. I mean, maybe some people do, but, like, I can't. I can't be like, oh, I got this. I'll pick up the check. I mean, you can't. People that work do. But it's not like it used to be, where it's like people are fighting over the check and things. Because we're millennials, because we have nothing is the point. That's just one example of that, though. As far as, like, not being able to share. Not being able to cook food for somebody, not being able to, like, if your friends come over, I don't have anything extra. I barely have enough food around for myself, you know? So, sharing, we don't even have enough space for, we all have one room. We can't have a guest room. We can't have sure, come and live in my house for free. You don't have to pay rent. Nobody would do that. We don't, that's not the society we live in. You charge everybody for everything, and, yeah, YouTube has been showing me these, well, I feel like now all the other apps are having to step up their algorithms, because TikTok is just really, I don't really think it is just like how much time. They claim that all they really keep track of is how much time you watch a video. I don't really think they know too much. There's no way. I'm trying to think of another example of something that was just like, it happens all the time where they just show you something that's like, well, for one thing, okay, they always show me, let's say, sexy videos when I don't want to see them. They show me sexy videos like during the middle of the day when I'm just trying to like get up, do stuff. It's like, here's all the, you know, cleavage and stuff. And then later in the evening when I'm trying to do whatever, it shows me all this like comedy videos or something. It's like, what the fuck is this? Like, I think they know that if they pull you out of your state or put you into a different state, they can kind of hook you that way. It's amazing how effective it is, honestly. The videos really cast a spell very quickly. In 10 or 15 seconds, you can really have a whole other kind of like chemical magic happening. I've been in lockdown since the Omicron thing started, December 16th, when my brother left, more or less. I've been going out buying food every day. I pick up food every single day. I go to the store. It's not like I never see human beings or anything. But even when I step outside, I am surprised at like, I forgot what people look like. But I just figured through the Omicron wave, it was probably a good idea to just lay low. And I've been buried in these videos. It's been kind of odd in a way. Just such a immersive way to relive the past, and huge run times. my like I said, the ancient teapot video is 3 hours. The Paris video is 3.5 hours. The San Francisco video is 2.5 hours. The fucking 2008 video is 2 hours. And this 2019 video I'm working on now is going to be like 4 hours or something. So, and I've been just watching other things as well. Like I said, one of the fascinating things about this particular time of the Slooge, I feel like I cover the early part with the Ascendants, even though I never really filmed the parties and things as much as I should have. At the time, it feels like you're just filming everything and people are just getting sick of it. And then, of course, later, there's almost none. I have, 10-minute episode, 15-minute episode. Whereas with this, I literally had, 3.5, 4 hours raw footage to work with, and I didn't cut that much. And I included a lot of performances in their entirety because I just think why not? Like, why the fuck not? This is how people should watch it. This is what it is. Like, it's a film within a film. It's a play within a play. It's a play within a play within a play. And one of my regrets, once again, is cutting the performances too short in the earlier episodes. Cutting everything too short. So I'm thankful to be able to go back and sort of... My impression of it was after the Halloween thing, it kind of took a downturn because... just my personal life became, and then they did the renovation, which was just a completely traumatizing. It took a bad situation and made it, impossibly worse, and that really killed the thing. I mean, we could have picked up where we left off. It's just like there was so much weird shit in the air. The Trump thing and my personal like love life thing, it was just all compounding. And I mean, the Trump, it changed the landscape so goddamn much. I mean, everything I was doing were holy smokes with Frankly Fabulous, and it's me, and I'm wearing a fucking Make America Read Again hat, which at the time, it felt satirical. It felt like this is how you fight this. You make fun of it. And that felt like a way to sort of intellectualize, like, these people should fucking read. I'm the anti-Trump. I'm trying to do the right thing. And the year, I mean, it did become a circus. And it became just, like, hard to keep track of things. I mean, another thing is the hard drive that I had with a lot of the footage from that period died. I don't even know where it is or what happened to it, but I dropped it or something and it stopped working. I bought it at Target. I knew I shouldn't have done that, but it had a lot of footage from summer 2016 from Ohio, stuff where I was in Mountain View, California, San Francisco, and things. I could have made some interesting episodes out of that stuff, but it all just got lost. I think the wrestling footage was on that hard drive too. So literally all I have left of the wrestling footage is the master files of, the episodes. Which, thankfully, that the way I was thinking about it earlier was organizing it sort of around subjects and concepts, which would become sort of arcs or mini arcs within it. So the first season, for instance, is a number of different little subjects. Holy smokes, I go to Colorado, I go to LA. What else? I mean, there's just general kind of New York life episodes. But then the second season is mostly about the sludge. And then the Holy Smokes through lines kind of go through that. That interweaves the Viren Linus people. Now, I feel like the characters are so established, the footage kind of does a lot of work for itself. In the earlier days, that wasn't the case. It felt like I had to explain things, and now that I sort of did that, I feel like I can kind of just take my hands off the wheel and just let it play. Now you know who my brother is, you know who my dad is, you know who Eamon is, you know who Caitlin is, you know who Jake is, you know who Olivia is, you know who Sarah is, you know who, Transporter Room, like they all kind of flow in and out through it in a really beautiful way, I think. It's like the clock. It's really, you have to, it's an installation piece, and it's meant to be just gargantuan because that's how life is. But it's also a scrapbook and a mixtape and just a VHS tape. It's really just home movies, let's say that. But they're HD, so they look like cinema, and they are cinema. That's the other thing is, you're making it when you're making it. You're still imagining it. You're still writing it. You're still acting it out. It's just you're living it rather than writing it and rehearsing it and this and that. So it still is a performance. It's just you're writing it, and then the editing becomes a way to kind of shape the form and things. Then, like I said, when I met Olivia in 2015, that's when things just kind of felt like I didn't know I mean, there's a number of episodes about that, but you'll notice around spring 2016, May, June or something, I sort of stopped talking about it because, I don't know, I think just filming it became exposing it too much or something. And I also kind of covered it. I covered it basically in microcosm, basically what happened in that relationship. And then you see her and all the other stuff, the KGB bar reading, which I'll edit. I have footage from a KGB bar reading in 2017 with all these poets. Lucas Trombley, who won, and John Lories, and Daniel Gerzhenko, and Olivia. We all go to her apartment afterwards and do more readings and drink wine, and it's a great like Lives of the Poets. So now I have this idea of a Lives of the Poets show. So I have this footage from 2017 that just so happens to really tell that story retroactively. Now, I don't necessarily know that anybody's going to go back and watch my vlogs from 2017 per se, but you shouldn't think about it as that. It's not a vlog from 2017. It's a film. Just like any other film you'd put on. Friends with Benefits with fucking Justin Timberlake and Mila Kunis or whatever. Or The New Girl or something. It's a TV show. It's a film TV show. And I know that with time they will gain in value as sort of time capsules. And that's one thing that I want to incorporate more into the show is the news, actually. Even though I talk about the news a lot, I don't actually show it. Like Trump, after the election, I don't really think I ever really even show Trump again. Because there was this sort of like, don't refer to him, don't look at him, don't pay any attention, don't give this guy any fucking attention, which was right. But at the same time, I need more things that sort of identify in time where the show is that are not me just saying that. So there's things I want to photograph more, such as newspapers, television news, Wolf Blitzer or CNN, just to mark it in time. I think that stuff is actually valuable and part of the story and part of the epic poem of it being an inventory and sort of a container of lists and but also time. Marking that these things do influence. So like I said, when Trump came in, and you see it through the 2016 episodes, it escalates. It goes from being something that's not really referred to, I don't think, in the earlier episodes. And then once the BBW, so that became the subject of the next arc, BBW. Because that was what we were doing. 2016, holy smokes, really, summer 2015 is when holy smokes kind of came apart, and it was hard to get it to work after that. Because, well, particularly after I met the poet, my sense of it was that her aesthetic was just so disapproving of my aesthetic. And I just sort of like, I don't know, I felt corny or inferior or something. Like what I was doing was not going to be impressive to her. And that was definitely the wrong way to look at it. And it was fatal in a lot of ways. To that creative project. Well, not only that, really. I mean, that it wasn't fatal to the band. The thing that really made it hard to do Holy Smokes was Trump. Because then it's just like, what, we're Holy Smokes, I'm Frankly Fabulous, and we're just like a bunch of dudes up here playing this like carcinogenous, like rocking your ass, rock and roll, like this is not and, well, also, just like the people I was playing with were apathetic about it. Or worse. So I just couldn't do that. I mean, that's always been something that has been a principle for me, to be honest, is like I can't really play with people whose politics I think are wrong. Like Inaudible Detonation, to be honest. It was Bush era. And the fact that fucking Zach wanted to go to a Ted Nugent concert, and he loves Ted Nugent, and he loves Rush, and he loves Ayn Rand, and all this shit, and he hates the government. It's like, I just thought, I can't, this is not the Beatles. Paul McCartney wasn't a fucking, like, Thatcherite or whatever. They weren't like, or I don't know British politics, but like, Ringo wasn't a fucking, anti-Pakistani fucking racist or something. Not that, no one in the band was like that. There wasn't anything like that. They were too subtle for that. too shrewd to be outright. But it was just like, I can't, how am I going to write songs with this person that, like, is a fucking ultra right-wing Ted Nugent? You know, I don't care, like, how fucking good of a musician you are, or your melodies or whatever. Like, if your politics are that, I mean, the Beatles said love is all you need. Like, I mean, granted, they weren't the most revolutionary, like, Marxists or anything. I think that is one thing that's worth calling attention to, is the Beatles said, if you go carrying pictures of Chairman Mao, you ain't going to make it with anyone anyhow. That means they're saying they're explicitly not communists. They're not Maoists. They're not Marxists. They're not Leninists. If you're talking about revolution, you can count me out. I think that's pretty lame. I think the Beatles should have been communists. That would have been more interesting and more controversial. But it's a surprise in a certain way. But that's capitalism, and that's rock and roll, and that's John Lennon. I mean, maybe he was a socialist at some point. I don't know, but the boomer thing, he wasn't a boomer, but boomer culture, they were a central pillar of that. So yeah, the BBW thing and that kind of, that's a way to talk about the politics without talking about the politics, and it just became a circus. We felt provoked to some degree. It just felt, why not? Like, everything's going crazy. This is it. This is the time for this. You know, we have this expertise in backyard wrestling. Our band's not really working worth a shit. For some reason, we did that residency at Pete's. It was whatever. As far as I know, after that, we took a break. I can't remember exactly what gigs we played throughout, like, summer of 2016, because I know at one point we kind of reconvened, Eric, and I think maybe I was traveling, I don't know, in May 2016, but I remember Eric and Johnny, I reconvened once at, Johnny had a rehearsal space, I think at Danbro or whatever the fuck that place is, in Bushwick. And we had this amazing session. Eric was playing drums. So it was a trio. And when we did BBW that summer at the party, we played as a trio. It was Johnny, Eric. Johnny played guitar, I think. I think I played bass. And Eric played drums. And then Nevin was there as well. He had his... he brought his, like, some kind of processing thing, and he produced us, which was cool. And, I don't think, we didn't rehearse with him with anything, which we probably should have. That would have made it work a little better, probably. But, after that, once again, you sort of see it. I don't really know. Not that I don't really know where to go with it, but at the time I felt like there needed to be, like, stories or, like, subject matter. That was how I focused on stuff. Like, subject, like BBW. That's the sort of center, and then all the other stuff can kind of, like, cluster around that. That gives me... Because at the time it just felt like I can't just film nothing. I can't just film walking around and shit. I need, like, things to happen. So I was kind of... I wasn't, like, craving drama, but I think that did play into it to some degree. To be honest, most of the dramatic things that happened to me, I couldn't really talk about on the show because they were too personal. And so it wasn't like I was wishing for drama in that sense. You know, like, the whole thing that happened with the kitchen and everything that happened with Caitlin, it wasn't really a compelling story per se. It just happened. It was an unexpected, because we had such a powerful thing. And it felt like it was untouched. Nobody touched that kitchen or that house forever. The kitchen was more or less, and the basement. The basement was barren. It was concrete, bare concrete. Nobody really used it ever. Occasionally, some people would go down there and play a guitar or something, but that was really about it. And there were parties from time to time. Maybe once a year or twice a year there'd be a party with bands. Not really that often, if that. But there was still crazy shit that happened. The craziest shit that happened way before I ever we did parties. There were people lighting shit on fire in the backyard and stuff in 2011 and 12 when I first moved in there. Nobody ever did anything like that at a party. The parties were all safe, cool, chill. People would be in the backyard smoking and talking loud and shit. It would have mellowed out. If they would have we should have just continued on. The Trump thing and the poet thing just drove this wedge into everything and split it. To be honest, the politics are what made it like unbridgeable, to be honest. Like once Trump got elected, it was like, this is not funny anymore, and I can't work with you if you're not taking this seriously. And in a like 100%. To me, I changed everything really about my life when the election. In retrospect, was that a good idea? I'm not sure. Should Frankly Fabulous have just kept going on? I didn't... The joke could not have been that Frankly Fabulous is Trump. That wouldn't have been the joke. The joke would have had to change, and we could have changed it to make the Frankly Fabulous thing go on. But the point of the Trump era, for me, was to just decentralize my identity. Which, to be honest, fucking sucked, because I had just started centralizing my identity. You know, most of my life I wasn't on stage. I wasn't like in a band writing my own songs, playing my own songs. It was hard to get that going. It was hard to get it to work. Everybody in Columbus was so unenthusiastic and uninspired and this and that. So it felt like, oh my God, yes, finally. And so to have that just get like taken out, not that it had to have been, but like, I mean, even now, like, if you're guys playing guitars, just like forget it. You almost have no chance. Like, it's something nobody wants to see. It's something the cultural has been like trained against. And our culture like really pays attention to that shit. And so like, not that that's why I do it, but it's taken me a little bit more time to come to terms with the fact that like I just want to play and do shows. Whether or not I become like Instagram, whether or not it works on the internet doesn't matter to me, really, actually. I'd rather just play shows and focus on that. And once again, obviously because of the pandemic, we haven't been able to do that. And it's been a long time. But we're starting to be able to. I mean, looking back on this period of time, it was 6 years ago at this point. Almost 8 years ago, Jesus Christ. What were some of the other subjects? I mean, after the election, the band sort of dispersed. I never really dealt with that, I don't think. It just sort of dies out. You just don't really see it anymore. And I became more focused on, that's when the BHQFU and art world kind of things. That's when I got a little bit more serious and started to learn more about like New York School poetry. I got more involved with Poetry Project, which is not really, Poetry Project is not really like a topic. It's something that there are shots of it throughout the show, but I don't really use it. I mean, my goal was to get so I could film people there, but I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I'd like to make that happen this year, and make that a subject, let's say. But it also doesn't really work necessarily. I mean, my big subject, obviously, for the past, since I moved in here, has been Manhattan specifically, in the landscape and just capturing that in my experience here, and that's a subject. Before that, the pandemic walks, that was the subject. It was just like, it was capturing what I've been doing, which is that, not shit, walking around with a beard. And then before that, Sarah was the subject. But that's not really, I mean, it became more kind of about experiments. I rewatched a couple of the episodes, the Memory Zine episode and the October episode, and to be honest, I think they're some of the best episodes. I think I should do more like that. They're both fantastic. The Memory Zine is the one where it's still pictures, and there's it's actually basically a podcast. It was more or less my idea for a podcast, which was music, conversations, and readings as sort of like a sound collage. And then I just put these still pictures, because that's when I was in the Burnett Mayer reading group, and she has that piece, the memory piece, which is all these still pictures. She took a roll of film every day, and she wrote a journal every day for, like, I don't even know, 30 days or something. It's just like, I think she took a roll of film every day for 30 days and wrote a journal every day for 30 days, something like that. And she reads it on a tape recorder. So when you go into the gallery, you see all the pictures. They're all on the wall. They're all just mounted to the wall chronologically. And then you hear the tape recording of her reading her journals from the time. So she made this piece in 1972 or whatever, 1971. And I have been doing Scenes from Her Life from 2014. I saw this piece in 2017, September, when it was at Canada Gallery. We went with Burnett Mayer Reading Group. And I was like, this is a lot like my TV show. And it was sort of basically what I was trying. It's an interesting way of capturing the experience, because you're hearing kind of the internal monologue journal, like it's a movie in and of itself. It's this montage. It's a mental cinematography, but it's psychological information, and it's lines, it's things people said, it's acoustic, it's musical. That's how the poetry works. It's all of those things. But then you also are getting these still photographs, which are very beautiful, and the colors. But the way she takes the photographs are almost kind of like uneventful. She's not trying to like make good, like great photographs. It's just like, it's more kind of just like when maybe some nice light, or a nice a desk or something, a chair. A lot of pictures of like the World Trade Center being built, because they were building it at that time. New York City, kind of, but not like trying to be some like auteur photographer. Not like, they're good photographs, but I wouldn't even say they're understated. That's not really the right. They're not trying to be that. They're not trying to be anti. They're just kind of like peaceful or vacated, or they're looking at some kind of in-between moment, like a lot of the poetry does. Like it's almost like staring out the window of a car or something, just at the window pane in the back, the little tiny window. When you're in the back in the passenger seat, just looking at, it's almost like you're not really looking at anything. That's what the photographs kind of feel like. And so with my Memory Zine piece, I wasn't trying to take great pictures. I was literally trying to take kind of gnarly bad pic, almost like Eileen Miles' Instagram is like that. It's like, god damn, these pictures are just like fucking gnarly, how like just throwaway they are. They're like these look away, kind of blurry, almost like the camera just like accidentally took a picture or something. Because that's a lot of times, I don't know, that's poetry, is looking at those things that are there but go unsaid, go unrecognized. And so verbalizing them, capturing them, and saying, yeah, this we see this. This is how we see. A lot of times we're looking at just empty space or objects, weird shapes, because our eyes aren't, it's not like a film where everything is composed and everything is absolutely looking at what it needs to see. That's what's weird about a movie. It always shows you exactly what you need to see. Whereas, this is the other thing, like the Jonas Mekas book is kind of like that too. Like his stories are like that a lot, where it's just like some kind of fucking thing where just like nothing fucking happens at all. He meets some insanely famous person, and you think it's going to be like some crazy story, and it's just like, oh, he just wanted bread, or, something ridiculous, Fred Astaire, there's something about he's dancing with Fred Astaire. Yoko Ono put him in one of her movies, Dancing with Fred Astaire. She had Fred Astaire, obviously, because she was famous enough with John Lennon, she could get Fred Astaire. So she had Jonas Mekas and Fred Astaire, and it's like, it's not some big glitzy story or something. It's, I forget what the story is, but it's like not that eventful. So that's sort of what I was trying to imitate and capture with that episode. Having those two things add up. I had recorded conversations with a few different people, and then I was reading actually excerpts from Andy Warhol, if you can believe it. I just had things on my computer that I threw together. That wasn't something that I made specifically for that purpose. I had a few different things, and I just put them together to try it as sort of a prototype. I thought I might be able to do a lot of episodes like that. I thought it would be an interesting way to carry, like, the story of life without just being like I'm just filming stuff. At that time, it felt like I had to do something more, but I wasn't sure what. I was not really wanting to do film, like the talking head thing was just kind of getting old to me. And I wanted a way out of that. But I also wanted a way to share a lot of conversation or speech. And so I really wanted to share voice memos. So when you have a lot of B-roll or you have a lot of still photographs, you can put any audio under it at all, because there's no audio at all. And so I thought I'd take B-roll or I'd take still photos and I'd put voice memos under them, which is basically what I did. And the rest is history. And nobody gave a shit. But I was originally going to do a bunch of episodes like that. It was also a way to deal with just like privacy. It felt like people were getting annoyed that I was filming them, or certain people would take issue with it. Well, not really. Few and far between. The only person that really complained was Jake. And I get why he complained, but also just like he has paranoid ideas about what people are going to... Nobody watches this shit. Like, I don't know. I suppose it would be the ultimate surveillance thing to give people, but the things I'm revealing are not really like... I don't know. They're not really like... To me, like, they're extremely relatable. They're not like... Like, people... The thing about the internet and the surveillance thing is, like, people fucking expose themselves voluntarily. They want views. What's more desirable than a view? That's what everybody fucking wants, is to be seen and liked. And so, but it's like, I can't even get arrested. Literally, all these videos I'm posting have 0 views. I don't know if anybody will ever watch them. And I've tried to make better screen caps and shit. It doesn't matter. When it hits, it'll hit. And people will go back and watch everything. I'm sure of it. Because it's all there. If you watch it, it's all there. It plays like a mousetrap game. It all just Rube Goldbergs into the next shit. Like life. Life is a Rube Goldberg machine. I think that's what we see. That's what I see. When I look back at this 7 fucking plus years of what I have on video, it looks like a fucking Rube Goldberg machine. It looks like the game of Mousetrap. Where it's like, okay, we thought this was going, and then and then the fucking shit got knocked this way, and we rolled, and then boom, this fucking happened, and then shit, this fucking cage came down, and the cheese, and so, like, my life, I mean, obviously has just, like, changed many times. I mean, it's hard to believe I had so much continuity to some degree. I mean, even at the Slooge, I didn't have that much continuity, but technically I did live there from 2011 through 2018. Even though I was gone for basically a year, I lived in that house basically that whole time. But I was going back and forth to Columbus, and I was traveling a lot and staying in California and this and that. Even then. But if the show starts in 2014 late, so then, you know, by 2018, I'm moving in with Sarah, and then we move into another fucking place in 2019. 2020, we're in LA. 2020, I'm back in Ohio. Then I'm back in New York in 2021, and who knows what the fucking next thing is. But there's no, I mean, this is typical millennial. There's no future. There's no, like, prognosis. We're living paycheck to paycheck, which means you can't plan for the future. You don't know what the fuck is going to happen. It's scary. It's a constant stress, constant anxiety. There's nowhere to live. It's too expensive. I don't know why they're not just cranking out these fucking tiny houses. Supposedly there's, like, insatiable demand. They're on back order out the wazoo on these tiny houses, and I guess they don't have the materials or something. I mean, this is the other thing maybe I should talk about. The economy. It's my favorite thing to dwell on. Well, it's so in our face as far as just like what people care about. Even though I just think what people refer to as the economy, you're fucking up the economy. I'm voting for Mitt Romney. That's a TikTok clip. Y'all fucking up the economy. I mean, that's poetry, man. That's fucking poetry. I don't agree with it. It's trash in that regard, but there's so many different economies, and really the economy of like the stock market and of rich people in that is not real, and it doesn't. It really just throws off our economy, which is an economy of real fucking objects. I was reading this BFO once again, and he was talking about finance and things, and basically it just confirmed everything that I've been thinking the whole time, which is that what we had, right, when Nixon took us off the fucking gold standard and money came removed from having like a tangible place, and everything became credit all of a sudden in the 80s, and they could just credit anything and take out student loans, and debt became just like how they do everything. They keep us in the system through debt. And debt is what really has value. But his point was, we have... there is a certain amount of work that needs to get done, obviously. I think what we see in the world of real labor, let's say, the basic necessities of how we live, the stuff that is absolutely essential, as we all fucking know, grocery stores, trucking, so food. who had to go to work? Doctors and hospitals, food shit, food delivery. Who else was essential? Truckers, any kind of like manufacturing. So like we need there are certain things that are tangible that do have real value in the true sense of the word, meaning they actually are necessary to our survival. And if we don't have them, we will die. Finance is not one of those things. Like Bitcoin is not one of those things. Anything that the stock market does or crypto is not one of those things. It, especially in an era of deregulation, and once again, it's not tied to anything real. Not only that, but we have automation, so certain of these basic necessities can be created without human labor. So that wealth is still being created, that value is still being created, the food is still being made. But the workers are being cut out of the equation entirely because they're no longer necessary. So Jeff Bezos, rather than paying people to work in his warehouse, can just have a bunch of robots do it. Then he doesn't have to worry about unions and shit. He's still getting the value. He's still getting the money. The workers are just cut out of the equation. So what the fuck are they supposed to do? Our society has not comprehended that work. There's not enough work for everybody to do, basically. It looks that way. There's a lot of wealth, and that is going to be the case more and more with automation. Jobs are going to disappear. Now, that's not to say that people can't be of use. I think there needs to be a new approach to how we assess those things. And how we just... The market should not be dictated entirely based on desire and what people want. It should be based on necessity for people to survive, first of all. Everybody should have necessities to live. That should be the first fucking thing. In the law of supply and demand, the demand should not be only fucking people who have money. We all have demands. It should be necessity. Supply should pertain to necessity more than anything, not desire. It should apply to necessity, meaning there's 8 million people in this city. We all have a necessity for a certain amount of food and a certain amount of vitamins and minerals and shit. And if we don't get it, we die. And so the supply should be created according to that primarily. That's not to say that there shouldn't be desire. That's part of demand as well. I think demand implies... I think it's an unfortunate word because I think it implies desire more than necessity. Whereas I think supply should be dictated by necessity more than desire. Like, people will demand food because they need it, but like they need it before they demand it. And they should get it before they... And so... Well, I guess why I'm talking about this is because we have this current crisis with inflation. So that's what I'm taking a look at. And I'm trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. The idea being we've created too much money. They've put... I suppose because they've printed too much money and put it into the economy. So now there's more money for the same amount of shit. So they have to charge more because... See, that's what I don't get, because I don't get, first of all, why people can't just save their fucking money. This idea, the narrative that we're being told is because people were given money for free, the demand went up and the supply can't meet it, so everything costs more, which is not the whole picture. The whole picture is that I don't really actually think the demand went up that much because people weren't given that much money. And they probably fucking saved it or used it on basic needs, first of all. But the real problem was the supply fucked up, and it changed when all of a sudden people were home. They stopped buying fucking cars. So I've heard of a third of the reason why we have inflation is because of cars. People stopped buying fucking cars when the pandemic happened because of fucking nobody was going anywhere. And so they stopped making these chips and they stopped ordering these chips. So now there's all these fucking back orders for all these chips and stuff, and they can't keep up. Well, it's not like it's not like there's more demand necessarily, because the demand wouldn't be a problem if there wasn't a pandemic, right? If they could hire workers and get people to the reason why the supply chain is fucked up is because people aren't going to work because they're getting sick. One factor is that people got money, but they were given money so they wouldn't get fucking sick. And so they should have saved their goddamn money. I don't understand why people are like, oh, we got all this money, we need to go out and blow it immediately. But I'm skeptical that that's what happened. I think people have a lot of built up fucking energy because they were trapped inside for basically a goddamn year. And so, yeah, they are going out and like going buck wild and demanding a lot of this and that. But like, I think if you want people to work, you have to incentivize them to work. And the fact of the matter is, the people, it's an illusion that the value that is created by the workers should go to the CEO. That is a precept of our society. That is something that our society believes in, that Jeff Bezos is the inventor. He copyrighted, it's his business, it's his everything. So he has a right to take as much of the fucking money, I guess, as he wants to. But that's not really what's actually happening. Like, the value that's being created, certainly more of it should be shared with the employees. I'm not necessarily like a communist, let's say. Like, I do think probably to some degree that human beings do need like a certain amount of mobility and shit and something to strive for. Come on now. You bastard. Like, if you want to make a little bit more money, if you want to have nicer stuff and you're motivated to do that, and I think as a carrot on a stick, like, there's probably some fucking need for that. God damn it. Come on now. What's going on here? I knew I shouldn't have bought this fucking $8 USB VHS thing from Amazon. Speaking of Bezos. Oh, piece of shit. I don't even give a fuck about the video, honestly. Come on. Alright, well, whatever. Maybe it'll come back on, maybe not. Like, sure, it was Bezos' idea, and he built the thing and this and that, but, like, come on, like, it's disproportionate, the amount, and it's unnecessary. I was just reading this thing about Andrew Carnegie, said he spent 90% of his wealth on these libraries, and if you look, they're fucking everywhere. New York alone has dozens of them. They're everywhere. They're in Europe. They're in fucking... He's from Scotland. They're in England. Like, I'm not saying that that's, like, the ideal. I don't even think that's really admirable. I mean, good for him that guy knew enough. I'm sure he fucked over so many goddamn people to get that money that it doesn't really whitewash it. You piece of shit. I can't believe this thing stopped working, man. Come on now. Fuck. Oh well. We'll just keep talking. Maybe it's better this way. Maybe it'll come back on. I'm smoking the warning papers. I ran out of rolling papers. I'm too lazy to order more off Amazon Prime. I keep mentioning Amazon. I don't really use it hardly ever. The rolling papers have inflated. They were like $4 something. Now they're $6.95, I think, for 6 of them. And damn inflation. I mean, it's hard to quantify how much work actually needs to be done because there's so much bullshit. And to be honest, well, why is it that rich people are allowed to have more money and we're not allowed to have more money? That is one question. The stock market can create money based on a perceived value that may or not have any actual, like Tesla is a great example of that. The amount of profit they actually make is well underneath what their stock valuation is. And most of the value of the stock market is speculation. It's not based in any actual real. And in fact, I would argue that just like the stock market is kind of just divorced from the tangible purposes of what it's trading, actually. The stock itself doesn't even fucking matter. It's just a chip. And you just want to get the best one. You don't give a fuck what it is, really. As long as it makes money, you don't care. Now, maybe the best ideas make money. Doesn't seem to be the case. Certainly not in food. Maybe in tech or something, I don't know. But probably not. God, I wish this would fucking come back on. Come on, you piece of shit. I'm getting distracted now because I fucking... I think one of the differences is... There it goes. They save it. They don't really keep it liquid. They invest it, right? What are the best investments? Other stocks. So really the stock only has that value if they sell it. And if everybody decided to sell it at the same time, it would lose its value, right? That's what's happening right now, I think. The stock, it's the most the stock market has ever been down with this many days in the year. It's down like 10% or something, I don't know. To me, that's really just like, let the fucking thing crash because it's based on false estimation. It's just based on whatever these guys could convince themselves. If you can think of any kind of like double, what is it, short selling, what is it? Waste, there's ways you can profit on things losing money. Like, there's all kinds of different schemes now, which are not really, I mean, even Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, that was kind of like a toxic, they're buying up all these toxic debt and shit or whatever. Toxic bonds. I don't know. I mean, I think part of economics is they do try to keep it as a specialized, confusing thing. So you can't participate. You have to have a lot of money because you have to be able to lose money, really, to play. It's just like gambling. It really is just gambling. It's the same fucking thing at this point. It's just there's way more money involved, and this is people's actual... It's like they take the farmer's fucking life savings and they just gamble with it, And these are all of the people that live in New York. This is why nobody can afford to live in an apartment anywhere in Manhattan, because the finance industry, to me, that's the inflation. The fact that these people are creating, ungodly amounts of money out of thin air based on speculation and market manipulation and things like this. Like the GameStop thing, that was a good example of that. That was a good example of normal people hacking it in a way that they didn't really like. They tried to go back and, retroactively cancel it and shit, recall it. And so, real working people, the world of goods and services, although that's vague, I would say it's more goods than services. Services, to me, with labor, there's a malleability. Goods, there's a finite supply. I mean, with labor, there's a finite supply in things too, but with goods, that's what you're buying. You're buying the thing, I take it, you don't have it anymore. Whereas, a service is a continuously, and it's also, I mean, it's intangible. It's imageless. It's hard to. That's why labor can be exploited. That's why, because you can just force people to work forever and not get paid anything. Whereas you only have a certain amount of things to sell. The raw material has a little bit more of an identifiable value than the intangible. Things like craft, it's hard to tell. I mean, if you're a cobbler or something, that kind of craft, an electrician, there's certain things, unions, and just public recognition that those things cost a certain amount of money. Whereas, if you're a writer, that's a craft that not everybody needs, or I don't know. It's been, now we have mass media and things, so those jobs are assigned to very few people. It's not like, the village needs a writer or something. So it's it's two different, it's a caste system, really, is what it is. It's if you can play in the market, if you're an investor, if you're an investment banker, if you work in finance, crypto is the sci-fi wet dream. I saw this fucking it was a Mr. Show clip about, in the year 2009, this is what it's going to look like. And it was literally, it was the moon in the background, and it was women in bikinis in just astronaut helmets, like jumping up and down on the moon. This is what it's going to be like in 2009. And it's that Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos must have seen this. Because that's probably what they think. Like, that's the future to them. We're going to go to Mars and just, like, babes. That's it. Babes in space. That's all they... That's their imagination. That's like the crypto imagination. Crypto is like Yu-Gi-Oh cards. It's just bullshit. I guess in a certain way that these conquistadors of the ineffable and the new frontiers, they always need like a hallucinated wealth and a hallucinated goal. Like gold. That's how they fucking got these fucking people to come to the new world. It was like, there's gold. There's gold and there's a fountain of youth. There's a city of gold. In South, or whatever, in the Indies, in the Americas, there's a city of gold. I don't understand why gold is so valuable, actually. Because, once again, it doesn't have a use. I guess it's pretty. It's precious, that's why it's valuable. Purely because it's decorative. What is gold's... It's not a resource in that way. It's not oil. What's gold's... I guess because there's not that much of it and it's good looking or something. I don't know. It's a symbolic... It's a status emblem. And so crypto... Things like that, it feels like another kind of like, we need to get you into the metaverse. You know, we need to get you paying with Ethereum. We need to get you experiencing all your content through the metaverse. What's the other thing with the metaverse? To me, crypto is like the purest example. I don't know if that's capitalism that just like exhausts that stuff, where it's like it creates like an exponential value of wealth, supposedly, while at the same time being intangible. It's purely digital, right? It doesn't even exist. It's not like a coin. It's called Bitcoin, but it's not a coin. It's fucking in... It doesn't exist other than in the metaverse, in the digital. Like a coin is a symbol of the transaction, but there's a tangibility to it. Crypto, like I suppose, I mean... Maybe there will be some kind of tangible crypto when we get to meta. To me, that's part of the swindle of it, though, is just the fact that you can't see how much you actually have. That's what they always do when they want to take more of your money. Like at casinos. Now everything is on a fucking, like, card or whatever. There's no chips. Because they don't want you to actually feel how much you're losing. And it kills the environment. It's literally like the worst fucking thing. It uses insane amounts of power for nothing. For what? It uses all this server power, I guess, to like... I don't get it. Blockchain, like the transactions or something. To me, it's absolutely like diabolical the way it was designed. You couldn't have like a more perfect, like, world-killing... like, if you want to kill the tangible physical world, that's like the fucking nitro fuel. Like, that's rocket fuel. I just don't get the... I don't know who gets excited by this idea of metaverse. I suppose tech people who think about it constantly and know what it actually fucking is. Like, what? I don't get excited. I'm not... To me, I'm in the metaverse. I love being in, I mean, once again, I think we get back to the cold hard facts, which is that there is a physical, tangible reality that is the kind of final truth. We've managed to build up this scaffolding of symbolic interrelations and things that has no meaning other than, like, a dog can't do anything with crypto. Like, a bird can't do anything with crypto. Like, whereas, like, an orange or a steak or something, grass, that has use value outside of our myopic way of looking at things. A lot of the ways that we assign a valuation doesn't take into account the cost. Crypto is a perfect example of that. I mean, they're paying for the energy, but even that's sort of a lie, because the energy is drawing on future time, really, and resources, but, like, it's stealing time from the future, because there won't be a future, because there won't be an environment. Like, that's the cost. It doesn't look like it, but there's a huge cost to the environment. And so that's not factored into the economics of this. The economics doesn't, it's not that responsive, because it's this abstract system. And we have to give everything value. And that value is constantly fluctuating. I think this is one reason why, like, thrifting and upcycling has become such a thing with our generation, because we don't make anything, or at least, like, there's been a phasing out of that. Everything now is on a computer, on a phone, so it's intangible. Once again, it's metaverse, if you want to think about it like that. Is social media sort of, it's like a transitional metaverse. It's part avatar, part real, before we go all the way in, I guess, to the portal. It just doesn't sound interesting to me. How do we live here? That's what I'm more focused in. I mean, I, like everybody, use the internet as a tool to get done the things that you need to get done with, and then really, hopefully, nothing more. You know, I think, hopefully, I average less than 5 hours a day on my phone. I mean, during the pandemic is what I'm talking about. And it's during the winter. I don't have a TV. I don't have the internet. So, like, the phone is, like, the only fucking modern convenience I have as far as media and whatnot. I can't turn on my smart TV and, you know, start binging my HBO Max or whatever. I have 35 gigabyte cap on my data and 12 gigabyte hotspot that I have to conserve very preciously. There's also this fucking situation in the Ukraine. Russia's got thousands of troops, possibly gonna invade. Biden is not backing down. Russia will pay the price, pay a heavy price, he said. I don't know. This shit happens all the time, so it's hard to tell how seriously to take it, you know. My birthday's in 2 days. I'll be 37. I don't really think I'm going to do anything because of the Omicron. I mean, well, not all day, but right before I did this, I spent a couple hours trying to think, because I'm going back and forth with this girl about going on a date. Now that the Omicron surge is kind of, it's down. It's way down. There were 5,000 new cases, which is way down from even 2 days ago, which was like 10,000 or 12,000. So we can sort of look at it like, okay, so, you know, there's been a surge in activity on the online dating. And so I don't know, there's this girl that I really want to go out with, but I'd like to wait maybe another week. It's a little bit too soon. It's still like 5,000 cases a day, which is not a lot, but it, before this happened, it was like 1,000. So I'd like for it to go back down to that. I think in another week it'll be. But I'm also like, well, this girl's really attractive. I think she's part French, part Italian. She's a scientist. I can already tell that, like, it's not. And I'm not trying to be negative about this, but, like, I have been doing this long enough in New York. I've been on this date so many times already. Like, I can already tell that this girl is just going to be way too, like, cold and professional for me. They all are. They have to be. This is who you have to be able to afford to live in this fucking city. Like, you just have to be, like, a workaholic, basically. I mean, everybody, more or less, I go on a date with, I feel like a middle-aged child compared to. I feel like, but also just like I don't want to say they don't have a sense of humor, because I'm sure in their, like, super, like, achiever way they do, and I'm sure it's the greatest, but, like, they don't have a sense of humor. Meaning, I don't know, they're just like, they work all the time. I mean, this girl, the last girl I went on a date with, it was the same thing. She's like, oh, I've got to work super late. Can we meet after, or can we do tomorrow? It's like, oh God, here we go again. I got to work super late. It's like, she texted me at 8 a.m. So already, she's a scientist. I don't know if she went to Columbia, but she probably did. She works up there. And, she wakes up at 8 a.m. Like, she works late. Like, what I originally said was I could meet today, because today the weather was supposed to be nicer. And I thought maybe we could do it outdoors. To be honest, I'm really just not comfortable going into a bar yet. And the other thing is, none of these women they don't want to go anywhere I want to go. They all want to go get a cocktail for $16 or something. Like, they don't want to go to a dive bar. There aren't any, hardly. I should probably go out with a woman, like, in grad school or something, but I'm 37, so everybody in Manhattan is a super professional of some kind. And even in Brooklyn, most of the women I would go on dates with were just like, they didn't look at me as like daddy or like an authoritative figure, because I didn't have any job. So my job was not better than theirs, and I had less money than them, and I'm also not 6'2". So it's like, I don't know. I just like, I don't know why this girl's in such a hurry to go on a date, because I think she's afraid of being boring. She said something about, like, she didn't want to talk about her job because she's afraid to be boring. But also, like, I'm not going to rush to go on a date with somebody that, like, well, to be honest, it's just the pandemic. Like, I'm not trying to, like, delay it, but I'm also just like, where are we going to go? She lives in Uptown on the east side. And so we could meet, I could probably meet her somewhere on the east side down here, maybe, like in Gramercy or slightly north of their area. I guess that's Murray Hill. If it's my birthday, like, if it was up to me, we'd go to Art Bar or something. I could maybe do that. Maybe I should have suggested that. Maybe I'll text her as soon as I'm done with this and see if she can do that. To be honest, I just am not really comfortable going to a place yet. And if I could spend, let's say, $7, $8 on a drink plus a tip, then I could buy one for both of us. I could do that, but I'm not going to some place where a drink is $13. Like, I mean, that puts me very much at odds with basically everybody on the Isle of Manhattan. I haven't met anybody yet except maybe a tourist who's living that life, who's my age. You know, even students and stuff. It's like their parents just pay for everything. Like, so I'm also just like, why I want to go on a date because it's my birthday. I'd like to fucking, you know what? I know that's not going to happen because I'm sure she has to work the next morning. But I'm also just like, what am I setting myself up for? Like, there's just no way this girl... I think I just need to be realistic about, like, is this going to work or not? I haven't gotten any indication from her yet that, like, there's anything there. I think she's attractive, and she probably thinks I'm a Chad. My profile picture is very Chad. I look like kind of a stud. Well, not my profile picture. My second picture is like a Chad. It's my passport picture from 2010. And I look like kind of a stud. But I list in my thing, I say that I'm 5'8". I'm not claiming that I'm 6'2" or anything, and these women are showing up and they're going, what the fuck? But I'm not quite that guy anymore. I am more of like a, I don't know, neurotic, middle-aged loser, hippie, failure, whatever. I don't know. So I don't know how to make that attractive to these women. Like, that's why I'm just continuously frustrated about how they all want the same thing. Like, this week it was this West Elm Caleb thing, which is like, of course, it's some tall dude who makes furniture. That's all they fucking care about. Because of that fucking stupid show, Girls. You know, with our generation, it became all about defying the media stereotype and the media expectation. It's like the media saturated us in this idea of what perfect-looking guys were. It was Tom Cruise and dudes like that during the 90s and 2000s. And then Lena Dunham comes, and it's all about, well, that's obvious. That's what the media told us to do. We can't like that. We don't actually like that. We want these fucking tall, we want Adam Driver. We want guys with big hands. Because they all have daddy issues. Because we were infantilized. Our parents never grew up. And so we are infantilized. We're like a combination of like infantilized but also like hyper responsible and can't have any fun because we have so much anxiety because we have to take care of our parents our whole fucking lives because they never grew up. We didn't just get to party our way through life like they did. We grew up in a constant surveillance assessment. Everybody's x-raying everybody else's every fucking social everything. Everybody's quantifying everything is quantified. Every like, every view, popularity, affection, it's all data. And they didn't have to deal with that. And so we're constantly anxious. Oh, can I like this person? You know, and that's just a weird. You're not engaged face to face in the. It's a distance. There's too much meditation involved in it, and that encourages a passive, introverted. Not that I am passive and introverted, but I mean, I think that's one reason why there's such sanctimoniousness and self-righteousness on Twitter and on the internet because people but also and also trolling and things. I think that's one thing that's good about TikTok is you do have to put your face where your mouth is, you know, like you can't just fucking be on a comment board I mean, you can comment on the videos, but like if you want to be a creator, it's not like Twitter where you can just fucking whatever. You're in it. You are the material. And I don't know. It just drives me insane. So it's like, the other thing, they all fucking idolize the show Secession. That's the way everybody in Manhattan especially, like, glamorizes the fact that they're all, like, vampire, soulless, cocksucker finance people. It's like, oh, I'm like Kendall Roy. I'm like fucking Jeremy Strong on Secession. It's like, no, you're a fucking piece of shit. You're the reason why nobody can afford an apartment, you piece of cocksucking shit. Like, you should be dead. That's the first fucking place we should start, is killing all of you people. All of the stock people. All of the finance people. Manhattan, there's nothing else. There's no opposition. Those people took over everything. The whole West Village is just the worst people on earth. Rupert Murdoch lives in the West Village, for Christ's sake. Like, I don't idolize those people. Just like everything Adam McKay does, it's intended satirically, and then the people he's intending to satire get a hold of it, and they use it to glamorize themselves. He's better at ingratiating them than they are. With George W. Bush, that's how it was. Anchorman was sort of a version of Bush. And it was a way, that's everybody on my fucking Midwestern campus. When is Anchorman for Halloween? Oh my God. The whole 2000s, all you fucking heard was Anchorman quotes. Oh, I'm not even mad. That's amazing. Milk was a bad choice. I'm not saying it's not a funny movie, but like, his cocky, macho, like, misogynistic thing, like South Park, it's like the people that ape it, the people that ape the racist jokes on South Park, they don't get the irony or whatever the fuck it is. They don't get that it's satire. They just think it's funny because it's racist. They just think Bush, oh yeah, Bush is funny. Strategery, fuck you. He's like dumb and fucking cool and shit, you know? And that's what I see happening with the Secession show. And the fucking, what is it, Don't Look Up? That movie, I mean, I'm glad that Adam McKay is like starting to be like a cultural thing that people know, because he does try. And I think he gets it right. Like The Big Short, I think, was a good, as opposed to like The Wolf of Wall Street. He didn't make that, obviously. That was Scorsese. To me, the Wolf of Wall Street is like, or American Psycho to some degree, but especially Wolf of Wall Street, that's how these guys glamorize themselves. They all think they're Jordan Belfort. They all think, yeah, I'm going to make shitloads of money in the market and, like, fucking do cocaine off a hooker's ass and shit. And, like, take helicopters everywhere. There was some girl, who the fuck was it? Some girl I matched with had a picture of herself getting on a helicopter or something. And I was just like, this is not going to work. There's no way this fucking girl getting on a helicopter is right for me. Like, that's everything I'm against. Like, that scene, I watched the pilot of Secession, and I was unimpressed. It was just broad. But the scene where they all get on different helicopters, and they take like 6 fucking helicopters to go play baseball or whatever the fuck it is they're going to do. The game. It was stupid. They built it up like it was going to be something, and then they just go up and they play baseball. It's like, what the fuck is this? And they're taking like 6 fucking helicopters. It's like, you pieces of shit. That's classist bullshit. You know, like, we're in a world that's what it's building towards. You're going to have people who can take fucking helicopters, self-driving cars. They're not addressing the problems that need to be addressed, which is like, they want innovation. They want the absolute newest fucking thing, and that's the best thing. And convenience. And it's like, there's We need to have more long-term and more quality of life goals. I think if we could make it so life was like a recreational activity, if people could look at their lives as if they were living in a park and just live their life as if they lived like in a national park. Like that's the way that I live in New York, I would say. I say I live here and I treat it and I visit it. I mean, maybe that sounds detached and like touristy. I mean, I don't mean that exactly, but I just mean like I appreciate it. It's recreational to some degree, I think. It's a playground. I mean, it's not a playground because that plays into the fucking Jordan Belfort thing. And that's what New York has become, is it's just like, yeah, come here. And like, it's New York, these lights will inspire you. You know, you gotta like come here and be a TikToker and be fucking get on SNL and like, you know, the unexamined life is not worth living. So you gotta go to New York and make your life mean something. To me, I just wanted to get away from America, and it's just like logistically the only place that makes any sense in this fucking country because it's not car based. But Manhattan specifically, that's why it's such a fucking shame that you can't afford to live in Manhattan anymore, because it really is just a better way of life. And so everything in America is designed to some degree to like convenience, while at the same kind of destroying quality of life. Like you have a car, you drive through a drive-through, that's more convenient maybe than cooking a meal for yourself, but it's like it's not better for your way of life. You know, taking a walk is a better, talking to your neighbor, these are better things to do than I got to get in my self-driving car and like there's too much individualized like thought. Like I don't think we need to sacrifice, you know, like in order to live for others. Actually, I think we could live for others, and it'd probably actually even be easier. Somebody was saying that about America, is like they're shocked when they come here just because people don't help each other, just how little, you know, everyone's alone because our society's so individualized and whatnot. In other countries, it's not like that. They help each other. There's collective effort. There's community effort. There's people share. Once, like I was talking about earlier, they share their food. They share. Yeah, you need a place to stay? Come on in. Take a shower, whatever. In our society, that's not the case at all. Everybody distrusts everybody else. They don't even question it, because they never go anywhere else, so they don't see any other way of doing anything. You just get used to being isolated and angry, and it's just building up and building up and building up in everybody. This isolation, this individualized, nobody helping each other. It's not natural. Everybody working, not being able to afford a place to live. I mean, okay, so the thinking with this is what? There's a huge demand to live in, like, let's say Manhattan. There's huge demand. Everybody wants to live here, but there's a very finite supply. That's why it's so expensive. So the only way they're talking about now is they want to print land, and they want to put fill in from the southern tip of Manhattan, so it would encompass Governor's Island and even south of that, and add. I don't know how much. I think it's 2 point square. I can't remember exactly what it is, but they want to add like a significant amount of land to Manhattan. because they can build there. They can build more supply, more housing supply, whatever. And so to some degree, you have to say, well, why not? I mean, I think Manhattan specifically is like limited supply. I mean, unless they just start bulldozing tons of shit and just building really tall buildings, which they're talking about. That's what all this rezoning, I think, about in Soho and NoHo and Chinatown, Little Italy. There's this big thing about rezoning. And I think because I think they want to build taller buildings, more supply, more housing supply. Which, to city planners and things, that feels like the solution. The shit they build is ugly as hell. I mean, there are truth to the idea, for instance, this. Why can't they build this anymore? This is good to me. In my estimation, this is a great, well-made home. This place will last. The shit they build now, it doesn't feel that way to me. It doesn't have the character. It doesn't have... like that kitchen in the house is a good example. The before and after of that. The before, the kitchen in the Slooge is like the 20th century. It's hardwood floors, gorgeous. It's cornice work. It's exposed brick. I mean, you can't beat it. It was made to last and just absolutely beautiful, ornate, but functional. Somehow, this was like a family dwelling. Not necessarily even rich people. And yet it was absolutely just like incredible craftsmanship, sturdy, gorgeous house, lot of space. And then, so the floor was falling through. And I don't know, they wanted to renovate the kitchen anyway because they thought it wasn't big enough, which, to be honest, I didn't really agree. I never had a problem with that kitchen. I mean, I suppose there could have been more counter space, but who fucking cares? It wasn't that big of a problem, and I guess they could have put more cabinets or something in, but this place, the character is what needs to be preserved at all costs, I feel. To me, New York, and they've already done it. I mean, like Jersey City, Newark, even Brooklyn. If you look at Brooklyn skyline now, they're building. It's getting taller everywhere, and the megalopolis is kind of expanding. But I mean, Brooklyn downtown, there wasn't even really a skyline. There was that bank building, and that was it. That phallic building, and that was it. And now it's like there's a fucking skyline that looks like Jersey City or something. And so that's probably going to happen more and more and more out through Brooklyn. I mean, I think they'll preserve a lot of stuff. I hope they preserve most of it, to be honest. Things like the Village, the East and West Village, Soho, all of that. Everything they named in that is not stuff that should be torn down. They should figure out a different fucking solution. I don't know what it is, but New York, because it's an island, it is limited. And in that sense, maybe its time has passed. New York was a big thing for the 20... Part of the equation here is the population explosion, right? The housing supply in Manhattan when there was, let's say, how many people were in the world in 1960? 2 or 3 billion? I don't know exactly, but it's something like that. 3 or 4 billion? I'm not sure. Let's look it up. But Not to mention the fact that it was a lot harder to be international and to move internationally at that time and to negotiate that. Now it's a lot easier to do that with credit and apps and shit. You can get housing here very easily and sort of maintain it, like the people that own, they're in Australia. That would have been very hard to do 100 fucking years ago, or 70 years ago, even 80 years ago, before jetliners and things. So there's a different market, let's say, because it's bigger. Like, it's not just 4 billion people in the world. Now there's 10 billion people in the world, and a lot of them want to live in New York City. So there's more demand, and the supply can't go up because it's a fucking island. So in that sense, I mean, they can do what they can where they're building these super talls, but with that, to be honest, there's a limit too. You can't build that tall. There's only so much you can do. Like, whereas you see, like, in China and stuff, some of these fucking cities are, like, unbelievably massive. They're not subject to the same limitations that Manhattan is. They can just keep going on forever, I guess. I don't know specifically, but it changes how much our rent costs, the fact that, they can't build any more stuff. And this is a problem we see continuously with our generation, is that housing is, like, really expensive. But it's just like, how did this happen? Is that because the population has gone up that much? Like, how was it that in the 80s my dad could pay for an apartment in German Village, one of the nicest neighborhoods in Columbus, Ohio, on Schiller Park, which is like, it'd be like living on, I don't know, Washington Square Park or something, basically. Or let's say Fort Greene Park. He paid $125 a month for that apartment in the 80s. Like, the same place today is probably, $1,500 or $2,000 or something. Like, how did that happen? Is that supply and demand? There's less supply. More people want to live in the city. Before, people wanted to live in the suburbs. That's why they built all the fucking houses out there. Everybody our age wanted to go back to the city because of fear of missing out. Which I don't think we'll ever get over, because I think we are attenuated to celebrity. That's our family. It's at least part of it. We were raised by TV and with all of that. Movies, records. We love these people. We love the fucking Beatles. We love John and Paul, and we love fucking Miley or whoever. I don't know. Pete Davidson. Just bought the Staten Island Ferry, fucking asshole. I would love to do that. See, why can't I be fucking rich and famous? I don't know. I guess I should get to work. How can I make this happen? I literally have no idea how I would even go about beginning at this point. I feel like I'm so far behind and it's just too late. So what do you do? I've been raised to think I was going to be a part of show business and to want to be on Saturday Night Live and the whole thing. And so now what? What are we going to do when the karaoke generation gets old and doesn't get famous. How are we going to cope with that? I mean, my understanding of it is there are more houses than people who need houses in this country. That's what I always hear. We already have more than enough houses to house the homeless. It's just the banks won't let us. That could be true. I'm not sure, but I wouldn't put it past them necessarily. Like the economy is just like, it's such a big and convoluted thing, and there are so many different artificial restraints on it in a lot of different ways. And most of them they don't even name, which is like when they cut interest rates, or when corporations don't have to pay taxes. It's like those are wealth transfers. Those are wealth transfers from the poor to the rich. They don't call them that. They call it, well, that's just like freedom. Like, of course they shouldn't have to pay taxes. Taxes are stupid. Oh man, did I eat dinner? Fuck. Oh god, now I'm gonna have to find some kind of dinner thing. Yeah, so my birthday's on. What the fuck was I even talking about? I don't know. I felt like I was trying to be topical. Oh, yeah, Bob Saget died. I should mention that. I mean, to be honest, this is like the thing I always do. Is like, I'm not speaking ill. I'm just giving my 2 cents. Like, obviously, Bob Saget's great. He's cool. And everybody's reiterated, like, he was the nicest guy in the show. He seems like a nice guy. But I never really liked, I watched Full House when I was younger. I did not really like Bob Saget. I found his performance on the show particularly painful. And then America's Funniest Home Videos I fucking hated. I thought he was lame. And then I also thought that, like, when people found out that he was actually, like, this filthy mouthed, like, he was in Half-Baked. That's where I first saw. He has that, whatever. I'd never seen it, actually, so I don't even know what the fuck he says. But I think does he say the thing about on weed or whatever? There's some thing where it's like, oh my god, Bob Saget's in this movie. He's the guy that's like, have you ever sucked dick for coke, man, or something? And it's like this shocking thing coming from Bob Saget, because we all knew him as Danny Tanner from fucking Full House. And he was sort of the paterfamilias to our generation. If I had to pick the kind of epitome of suburban, like, camcorder, like, boomer dads, I would pick, like, Spielberg, Bob Saget. To me, I don't know why Spielberg is the one, but I always picture Spielberg as, like, the overprotective, like, boomer dad, like, who just, like, spoiled his kids and was just kind of like Bob Saget. Like, I don't know, like, he's so suburban to me, and this is something I really I'm at odds with my generation so much stylistically, because I feel like so much of the culture that, like, we were trained to, like, be endeared to is just, like, fucking suburban. Like, Full House feels incredibly suburban to me, and I think that's bad. Like, I haven't seen Full House recently. I don't really know what it stands for, but, like, as a kid and as a comedy snob, I thought Full House was, like, the enemy. I thought Full House was, like, incredibly lame and unfunny and just, like, shit. I just hated it. It was so lame. I like Family Matters. I like Urkel, but Full House was just like, god damn. Bob Saget is just, this shit is so fucking lame. These jokes are corny. This whole fucking thing is just corny, man. I liked when they had Little Richard on and shit, and the Beach Boys. That's what I liked. That would happen often enough that you'd be like, okay. And I think I had a crush like on Jodie Sweeney or whatever her name is, the middle one. I had a crush on the middle one because she was like my age. But it's like I don't have any love for this shit. I don't have any love for Carson Daly or TRL. I mean, Bob Saget, like, it seems like a life well lived. He seems like a good guy. Good for him. But also, like, I'm not one of these people that, like, idolizes the comedy culture. And I think Bob Saget was one of the people that kind of rode that wave of, like, 80s, 90s. Like, he was on, like, Rodney's Young Comedian special, I heard, in 85. I forget who he said he debuted with. I can't remember. But, like, you know, he's just like this lame fucking tall dude that wears like flannel and like he's got a filthy mouth and like I don't think that's interesting. That side of comedy really irritates me, the like filthy part. Not that I'm obviously not against profanity or even like filthiness, but just like the potty humor. the scatological aspect, any of that. Any, you know, like Cleveland Steamer, that kind of humor. The Aristocrats. I saw it in the theater. But I'm not into that, really. And Bob Saget, like, kind of traded in that in a way. And I know that to, like, these younger guys that are, like, these awful male comedians now, like the podcaster dudes who are just, like, so pathetic and, like, stunted emotionally. They just see the world through stand-up comedy completely. And everything is like a joke. Oh, I thought that's what we're doing. We're making jokes. Like, Bob Saget to them is like, oh, yeah, he's one of the... Like, Norm. A lot of these guys are, you know... Norm and Bob Saget are good examples of just, like, these were, like, really comedy fucking... The worst comedy... like nerd guys, just like you know the comedy guys who are like more like just kind of sports dudes. Like they might even be like maybe conservative kind of. They're just like regular. You know, it's like they're not like they might be thinkers, but they're not looking that deep into it. So to them, like Norm and Bob Saget are like they're dry. But they're also like dudes. And they're tall. And they have that kind of authority. Like I think Bob Saget, once again, to get back to this tall thing, the idea, one reason why he's looked at as sort of this father figure is because he's fucking tall. I think that's heightist. What I can't, I'm not a father because I'm not tall. Symbolically, I think, you know, he represented that. And the height kind of imbued him with, you know, I don't have anything against Bob Saget. I like Bob Saget. He's a good guy. Rest in peace, you know. I mean, Lord knows he's roasted enough people. I'm just trying to say my piece about what I really thought, you know. These aren't jokes. This was just my opinion, I guess. He also directed an Oscar-winning, like, which I you know, like he did have like a sadness. His sister died, I think, of some kind of cancer or something when she was very young, and he directed this film about it. So you know, like you obviously he had a lot of power and strength and talent and was like just a deeply good person. And you can't do any better than that. But I also think it's an aspect of our culture that like at the one time he's all of those things and at the other time he's just like this filthy mouth like comedy guy. And those are the kind of figures that our culture likes. You know, they like that he can be both of those things because they feel like both of those things. They feel kind of boring and suburban and normal and doing the right thing and dad and lame, but they are also like, you know, did you suck dick for coke or, you know, Well, I don't know. The puerile aspect of it is the part that irritates me. In American culture, that's just like a fixture of the landscape. I mean, especially with humor, it's like you're gonna you don't. A lot of humor has got that in it, and especially stand-up stuff. It's just like it has to be smart and dumb at the same time. Like Louis C.K. has his. There was some clip that popped up of his the other day about teachers. You have to make these kids know math. Oh, do they want to know math? No, they don't want to know math. And so he's saying something like sounds like smart. It's like, oh, he's like talking about like he's saying it like in this like funny way. Oh, they need to know math, and it's sort of like, I don't know, mystical or something, almost the way he's phrasing it. It's like mysterious. But it's also like he's saying it in just like the dumbest, simplest way he could. It's like a shortcut that he says it that way. Oh, they need to know math. You know, it wouldn't be funny if he said, oh, you need to teach them how to do math. Just knowing it implies that, like, it was some kind of, like, and it is. I mean, that's what the joke is about. I don't think it's a problem analyzing jokes. I think people should analyze jokes. Figure out how the fuck. It's just like a poem. Analyze it, goddammit. That's what it's there for. It's not meaningless. There's just a comedy, I feel like, could have a lot more class and depth and wit. It's part of the lack of serious intellectual life in this country. Is that the stand-up comedians are our public conscience. The roast master stood in for a priest, is what Demian says in his poem, For Your Consideration, for Frankly Fabulous. For Frankly Fucking Fabulous, the greatest insult comic of all time. I think I do just need to go Frankly Fabulous comedy. That's probably my best bet. Alright, is there anything else I need to talk about now that I've talked shit about Saget? In a non-comedic way. See, if I would have made jokes about it, he'd probably love it, but that was pretty, I don't know, not really trying to be funny. Was there some other aspect of Bob Saget? Well, now I'm seeing these YouTube videos are popping up. Once again, like I said, the algorithm's getting creepier. Popped up this video. I think it's Bob Saget's podcast, and his guest is Louis Anderson. And then there's one of Norm and Saget, and the Norm podcast. Norm looks like he's about to die. He looks not good. He's ghostly white, and there's dark, like black gray on his cheeks, and like sucked out. He does not look good. Dark circles under his eyes. So that must have been, near the end. But rest in peace. Meatloaf died. I didn't even talk about Meatloaf. It's Omicron, man. Look at how many people have died. You can't even keep track of them. In the past month, Sidney Poitier died. Meatloaf. Who else? Betty White, for Christ's sake. It just came out of nowhere. She was planning to have this 100th birthday thing, and all of a sudden she has a stroke and dies. It's like, that wasn't a coincidence. I mean, with Bob Saget, I think it's the same thing. He looked perfectly healthy, man. He looked fine. And he just died in a hotel room. He had COVID. Like, we're hearing that this Omicron is mild, and it is, thank God, but way more people are getting sick. And to be honest, there's a lag. People thought, people aren't being hospitalized, people aren't dying. It's like, yeah, because there's a 2 or 3 fucking week lag. It's like now the numbers are starting to catch up. Thankfully, they're starting to go down. In the past few days especially, it's started to decrease a lot. So I think after this surge, we should be pretty good for the rest of the year. You know, knock on wood. Fuck. God damn it. Well, maybe that's a good cue to end it. At least until next winter, maybe there will be a surge. But it's starting to look really like this might be the kind of final, like, real bad. Like I said, I've been locked down basically for over a month. And I am kind of getting sick of it, to be honest. Like, it is weird to just, like, be so enveloped in these videos. Particularly because I'm, like, watching them on the projector and stuff. And being, it's just, I felt so enveloped in darkness. More than ever, I think, this winter. Which is odd, because I've been kind of waking up with the sun and going to sleep with... I wake up basically at like 7 or 7:30 or 8 every day. And then I go to sleep at like midnight or shortly thereafter, 12:30. And so, you know, I'm not staying up super late or waking up. I'm not waking up at 11 a.m. Like, I'm up by 8 or 9 every day. I mean, Meatloaf was an anti-vaxxer. He had lost a bunch of weight. I think maybe he was sick. He didn't look that great either. He looked okay, but like, if you don't have the vaccine and you have some kind of real health problem, like, he knew kind of what he was getting into. I mean, who else? Sidney Poitier. I mean, obviously he was older, but it's just not a coincidence. It's like it's raining. That's what it felt like last year. You know, it's like when you're in a car or something and you hear, you know, a raindrop fall and then another one and then you know, and then that's how it has felt the past couple winters. Early in the winter, like, one person will die. Bogdanovich died, of course. Rest in peace. He had a stroke or something a few years ago. So, like, you know, he was old, he was vulnerable. But like, if there wasn't coronavirus, he may have lived another 5 or so years. Who knows? Same thing with Meatloaf. You know, Meatloaf may have lived a few more years. It's, the Omicron thing is... It's still dangerous. I mean, I'm going to continue to avoid most public everything until the weather gets nice, to be honest. I've got a gig Valentine's Day. I'll maybe do a little bit of this. Now that the wave has subsided, I think things are pretty safe. But when the weather gets nice, that's maybe when I'll turn up, like, starting to do more stuff, more events and things. I'm thinking about doing a small thing for my birthday, but I don't know if anybody would even show up. I think if I really was nice, maybe Jabril would show up, maybe Eli. I don't know who I would invite. I haven't really connected with that many people, to be honest. And although I would like to do I would love to do a birthday in this apartment. This is my one shot. I wasn't here last year. And, you know, I'm out of here supposedly at the end of this year, so... I would like to have a few people over, but I'm also kind of like... I mean, I'd have to put up the info today or something. I don't even know who'd show up. I suppose... well, I've got this video, right, that's all, like, a lot of the sludge activity. It's got a lot of the thought party stuff, which I'm happy about. I basically included a little miniature version of the thought party. It's got the entirety of my play Will, or not the entirety of it, but a lot of it, performed by Elaine, the original, the actress who originated the part, off-Broadway. And then it's got Olivia Huntley reading, and what the hell else happened at the Thought Party? Oh, then a Prisoner of Conscience performance as well. So it's, I don't know. I'm not. I was trying to figure out how to put together maybe a band or an act to get a gig like on either McDougal or Bleecker or something like that. That was just an idea I had, and then I saw on Instagram this band. There's this place called, God, I forget what it's called. It's on McDougal, but like south of Houston near 6th Avenue, by that park. And it's like one of these New York, it's sort of like a supper club or like a cabaret, and they have bands. But it's like, I don't even know how much a ticket is. It's sort of like Village Vanguard, except if they had like post-Mumford, Hosier, shitty. Like every fucking, once again, these girls just want these huge guys. They want Jason Momoa or that guy Hosier. Or whatever, I don't even know how you pronounce it. That singer-songwriter dude's got like this super deep voice. And he's like 6.5 feet tall, and he's like, if I would win, I would lay down on your prayers with you. If I could burn your prayers and kneel at your windy song. It's bullshit. I hate it. I hate it. Women just have no judgment, our generation. They've really fucking lost the plot. They hate me. And they love that. Oh, you're 6.5 feet tall. Oh my god. Brilliant songwriter. So anyway, this all the bands I saw playing at these clubs are just like choppy bullshit. There's no style. There's no... I don't know. Maybe that's just the culture up and down Bleecker and McDougal. That's the impression I get. I'd like to believe... I mean, I was going through this Beatles thing, and that's in the movie. The movie's kind of a Beatles... It has Beatles elements. But I'm thinking of it like Hamburg or something, where we could just be a cover band. We'll just be a rock and roll band, and we'll play songs that people want to dance to, and we'll get down and they'll love it. But I don't think that's what these clubs want. And I don't think that's what... I think it is what people want, but I don't think it's what they think they want. They think they want like Instagram filter rock with like some dude that has a bunch of lead guitar chops and some like John Mayer voice or something, and just like choppy bullshit. And that's not what they want. They want a boogie down. That's not what the records of the 60s have. That's not what the best records ever made have. That's not what the records in the 50s have. It's not a bunch of choppy bullshit. It's people having a good time playing dance music, basically. And that's what I would like to do. I'd like to put a band together where we could just play shitloads of songs. Like, I know a lot of goddamn songs. Well, my idea was if I could maybe get Johnny and Justin and possibly, I don't even know, maybe another person. But even with Johnny and Justin, they could sing harmonies and like... Johnny can pretty much follow whatever I do. Like, we could theoretically play long nights. We could play the whole night, really. Play cover songs that people like, play old rock and roll stuff, play newer stuff. And make money, maybe even, really. I feel like I really hope I get to stay here, and I need to perform there while I live here. It's just something I need to do. I need to play on Bleecker and McDougal and be like a pro about it. Like when I see the Cafe Wall house band and shit, I'm like, Jesus Christ, Jimi Hendrix played here. Like, fucking Cream played here, and Springsteen. There was this story Springsteen tells about when he was a kid, that band, the Castiles. They auditioned to play, there was some club, I think it was on Bleecker, I don't remember what it was. Kenny's Castaways, maybe. And he said they were trying to fill, like, a bunch of gigs. Like, 60, they had 60 dates on the, or something, you know, ridiculous amounts of dates. And he said it was, like, they were super, like, the audition process was super, like, tough and, like, they were super, like, intimidating. Like, you know, we got 60 gigs and, like, you know, you'll be lucky to even get one of them, you know. Like, we're not going to give these out to anybody. Like, we're really auditioning and we're going to get, you know, the best people. And so his band, the Castiles, auditioned, which he was in when he was 15 or whatever. I think this is 66 or 67, something like that. Because he's from New Jersey, so he can just take the train up to fucking Greenwich Village and, you know. So he said him and his garage band, you know, from high school auditioned, and he said they got all of the gigs. The guy booked them for all of them. So Springsteen was playing on Bleecker and whatnot in the 60s as a teenager in a garage band, you know. That's the music of that street. The Fugs and shit. It's not some funky jam band bullshit, which is like what all of this music has evolved into. All these people that go to music school in Berkeley and what all this bullshit, they all want to sound like Steely Dan. It's like, get somebody in here who will play fucking Twist and Shout or something. Or shit like that, you know? I think we could get in there and be like a party band. Frankly Fabulous, Holy Smokes, party your fucking ass off. We're going to play rock and roll. Not in some corny, like, show band way, like all these fucking shitty bands, but like it was meant, we're gonna boogie down. I'd love to play at East Village Social. You know, I don't know. I'd like to get, I just like playing music. I just think it's a good way of life. It's not even really about music. It's about performance, it's about lyrics, and it's about theater, actually, to me. I think it's just performance. I can really go wild playing music in a way that, like, it's just a role, really. I can't do that in a play. You can't make as much noise and as much ruckus and all that. And I can do poetry. It's basically a poetry reading, essentially. And so, I don't know. I'd like to live as like a bar band in Manhattan for the next year, playing at East Village Social. Like, I was walking by there in the spring seeing bands play like fucking Country Roads and shit, and the bar's full of people singing along. It's like, I should have this fucking gig, man. Frankly Fabulous should be playing this gig. So I don't know. I'm not necessarily trying to reconnect with those people, but in the next year I need to figure out some kind of money job thing. I don't know. A part of me is just like, if it doesn't, should I just go live in a beach in Venice, in a van in Venice Beach, you know, like, for free? I could maybe work at Beyond Baroque or something, or busk on fucking Boardwalk, like, I don't know at this point. Well, the other thing, I got this email from my landlord last night that was just like, they just needed to know the date of this or that, and it was just super stressful, and so I'm just like, he's like, we're going to let you know where we're staying this weekend. It's like, what are you talking about? My lease is till the end of the year. Just leave me alone. Like, it just stresses you the fuck out, because now I'm just like, oh my god, am I even going to have a place to live 2 months from now? Like, I don't know what I would do. Like, I don't have a job. I've got money, but like, what would I do? I'd go live in somebody's apartment or get a room or something. I suppose that's what I do, but how long do I really want to do that? I want to travel. And if I lived in a fucking van in Venice Beach, I could theoretically live for free, you know? Not that there's any necessarily future in that, but I'm not sure what the future is just in general. It hasn't felt that possible to, like, work hard on that because of the pandemic. All I can do, basically, is these fucking videos, which nobody watches. So, the live performance thing has been out, and people didn't like that when I did that anyway either. So, I could work harder at writing and things, but to be honest, just, like, my focus is on living. I can't sit still that long. Like, it's just not going to work for me at this point in my life. Maybe 5 or 10 years from now, but, like, I'm not sitting fucking still to, like, torture myself to do, like, writing shit. Like, I like my process how it is. Well, to go back to, like, theater stuff, you know, I was sort of at an impasse where it's like, okay, I'm not going to do music anymore. I'm going to do something else, film or theater or something. And it's like, not that I think I'm going to, like, succeed professionally, because, to be honest, I just think it's not a good time to go into music if you're trying to, like, make a career out of it, because there's no way to make money. Even the people whose music gets played don't make money because of the Spotify thing and streaming and the intangibility of it. And because it's intangible, them not giving it the value that it deserves. And I don't know. But I like doing it. I don't know. And it's something to do with the time, the vibrations, the dancing, the singing, and just the way you're just able to crash the energy around so purely in a room and just fill the room with energy. The room is literally like an aquarium full of water, except it's vibration and sound. And I just like that as a performer. It's something that's natural to me. I don't know what else I would do at this point, actually. It feels total and it feels necessary. Maybe I could be more of like a comedy music act. Maybe I could focus on that more, I guess. I already sort of am. Some of the things I've been doing with Nevin. For this February 14th thing, at this point, I don't really know what the fuck I'm going to do. Because, I was going into it with all this momentum. It was like, yeah, I'm ready to return to fucking, public life and where all systems go. I did that karaoke performance where I sang American Woman, and that really, like, busted it open for me. That's where I was like, I'm doing this. I'm going to go to Pete's Candy Store. I'm going to do this. And I felt kind of like I knew what it was. But fast forward to a month and a half later, I booked that gig in early December. Now it's, for the last month and 9 days, I've basically been locked down, not talking to anybody, watching home videos of my life from 5, 6, 7 years ago. I've been playing music every day, but I've been playing it normally. I've been actually, like, practicing and shit. Whereas before, I was just, like, ready to go ape shit. And so now I'm like, oh, God, what am I going to do? It's Valentine's Day. It's like, it didn't feel like that much pressure before because it was just like, it was a rando Monday night, holidays, probably not that many people are going to be there. Now it's like I got a prime slot on Valentine's Day. And I haven't performed or even been in a bar or seen people in a month and a half. So, and also, is it safe to, like, go out and prep to do that even? Like, there's an open mic at KGB February 9th. I guess I'll go do that. It could be risky, I don't know. Is the Dead Pete's thing going to happen? I don't know. Will I go to that? I don't know. But it's just a different mindset I'm coming from. And I don't really know what I'm going to do. Like, it's like a part of me is thinking I need to make a poster. That's something I need to do either tonight or tomorrow. Which I already fucking did this work. I already made a poster and hung up flyers, so now I got to do it again. Maybe I'll just make the poster. Maybe I won't hang up the flyers. I feel like I don't really need to promote it because there are bands booked that night besides me, whereas like the December 27th thing, it was just me. And it's Valentine's Day. So, like, I'm on at 8:30 to 9:30. So, part of me is just like, should I try to play songs? I'm sort of framing it like it's a romantic evening with Frankly Fabulous. Well, I'm of two minds about it. Part of me wants to do that and just play like my greatest love songs and poems from my whole career. Play all the love songs. Play, early songs. Hey little girl, all I want to do. I like the way your pants fit. All of that stuff. Into, I don't know. Or, it's funny because 10 years ago exactly, on Valentine's Day, and I'll end with this. I waited on, to be honest, he was really the only famous person I ever waited on, was D.L. Hewley. He came to the restaurant where he worked, with a woman who was not his wife. I don't know what the deal was. It seemed harmless, but she was a real estate agent. He's D.L. Hewley. They came in late, and they stayed late, but they were cool. And we were talking a lot, and we were kind of riffing and shit. And we came up with this idea. I don't forget whose idea. It was Valentine's Day. Or maybe it was the day after Valentine's Day. It was one of them. I can't remember if it was the day after or if it was the day of. But he was talking, came up with this idea for his name for it was Anti-Times Day. Which I don't know. Maybe I'd think of something else. But the idea was have a holiday. I guess the idea was it was the day after Valentine's Day. And it was like for people that hate Valentine's Day. And people that are like pissed off about it. And like want to hate on it. People are alone. So I thought, I don't know, maybe that's what I should do at Pete's. And maybe I should like tag D.L. Hewley and be like, hey D.L. Hewley, remember when we came up with this idea 10 years ago on Valentine's Day? Well, I'm doing this show in Brooklyn. You want to come out? Come on out and be on my show, D.L. Hewley. He had COVID. He passed out on stage real early on. But he survived. So I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll frame it like that. This is like the anti-Valentine's Day party. Come on out if you're single. I'd love to frame it as like Frankly Fabulous Valentine's Day fuck feast. Single ladies, come on out. I'll serenade you. But I'm not sure. I'm going to be chewing that one over. Like I said, I got a little under 3 weeks to think of something to do. But I've got 35 minutes or something on stage. So I'll probably do like a mix of comedy, poems, speech, songs, freakouts, guitar solo, performance art, movement. The energy has changed so much. I was ready to just like blow the fucking roof off that little tiny caboose of Pete's Candy Store. And then the fucking Omicron thing happened. So I'm just like, I've been in hibernation. I'm in cabin fever mode. My birthday's in 2 days. Happy birthday to me. I gotta buy weed. I'm about to run out of weed before my birthday, for Christ's sake. I wish the Omicron thing wasn't a factor. Then I would probably have people over. I'd probably try to anyway. But it doesn't feel quite like that's safe yet. I don't know. We'll see. Happy birthday. Stay safe out there. Thanks for watching, everybody. Good night.